Plus, the Justice Department report calling for major change in the Chicago Police Department. An attorney is here to tell us what you can do if you think your rights were violated.
It is a scathing report revealing a pattern of excessive force and poor police training. The Justice Department's 164-page report on the Chicago Police Department finding that many officers are ill-prepared to be on the streets, putting their lives and residents' lives in danger.
Joining us now for a look at some of the legal implications of this is Antonio Romanucci, attorney with Romanucci and Blandon. Thank you so much for coming on and spending some time with us this morning and breaking this down. I want to start with, I think one of the big questions that we were all left with after this was released on Friday is what happens from here? What are some of the consequences if the city and the police department don't make some progress on these issues that we're dealing with?
Well, I think the good news, first of all, is that the Department of Justice made some very key findings. Their findings are things that we as lawyers and many other people have been saying for years and years, but it's been falling on deaf ears. Now we have something in writing that says that the things that we've been saying, such as the poor training, the use of excessive force, which is disproportionate against minorities, and the lack of training and the code of silence, now it's in writing. So now we've taken that one step. The city doesn't have a choice now but to make these changes, because if they don't, now we as lawyers can use that as something against them in future litigation if they don't make these changes.
And so who puts the hammer down, though? Is it the feds? I mean, are we talking a change in funding? Are we talking about firings? I mean, what are some of the consequences if we don't see changes to come of this?
Well, it could be all of the above, but clearly this is going to be more expensive for the city of Chicago. The training of 12,000, 13,000 police officers is not cheap, and what we've seen is that their training has been so deficient and so poor that it's going to really take a monumental step in order to bring them, you know, to current standards in training, especially on the use of force.
So, Antonio, you say this doesn't surprise you that you see this in your practice, in your work. Give us a snapshot of one case that would be an example of this that you've dealt with.
Yeah, what's interesting is, and I think I mentioned it, is the code of silence.
Okay.
We've questioned many police officers over years about the code of silence. And when you ask them, this is the simple question, you know, Officer Smith, tell me what the code of silence is. Usually the first thing that'll happen is you'll get a deer in the headlight look. And then after that, if they even acknowledge that they know what the term means, they'll tell you, well, isn't that the Chuck Norris movie from, you know, 10, 12 years ago? So for us, proving the code of silence has been such a challenge because they don't even acknowledge it, which in and of itself is part of the code of silence.
While we've got you here, if you have an idea that maybe you have been mistreated by police and we're probably going to see more people come forward in light of this report, what is your advice to them if you feel like you've got a case? Do you visit an attorney? Do you make a report with the police department? What is that first step? Well,
actually, the first step, if you think that you've been a victim of misconduct, is really look around. Who else witnessed it? Or is there any video? Is there any audio? Because again, one of the biggest challenges we have is actually proving one word against the other. So find, you know, get your evidence, and then, if necessary, see an attorney who can help out.
Antonio, we appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone.
You too.